I'm good. Good.
Hi, everybody. Good morning.
Yes, yes. How we doing?
Listen, let's backtrack. I mean, I think we've talked about it in length on the show, but the Karenread trial has gotten national attention at this point. Every day, people will message me and say, "Have you seen this influencer? You know, they do a recap of trial every day. Have you seen this influencer? She kind of breaks down this. Have you seen what this guy is doing?" There are so many people that are doing things on social kind of around the Karenread trial. You know, we go to Nick Rocco every Friday. He will join us again Friday at 7:30. That's our guy. But last week, Foreign, I was getting DMs from girls being like, "Ash, did you see that Brian Higgins called in to a local podcast?" And I was like, what? So then the messages started coming in, and it was crazy. At the same time, Justin from down the hall from Kiss sent me it and goes, "Ash, no, like, I know these guys. Listen to this. It genuinely sounds like Brian Higgins." So before I get to our guests that are in the studio, the podcast is called the JFK Show Off Podcast. I want to play both because listen, if this is in the court of law, we don't have the receipts. We don't have confirmation that it was Brian Higgins. But I am going to play two things for you. I am going to play a clip from Brian Higgins on the stand so you guys can get familiar with Brian Higgins' voice. Now, listen, a lot of players in the Karenread trial. So if you're like, "Ash, wait, who's Brian Higgins?" Brian Higgins was who Karenread was hooking up with less than a week prior to John O'Keefe losing his life. And remember, the text messages between Brian Higgins and Karen were cringe, to say the least. Like, "Do you like me? Do you think I'm cute?" Sickening stuff. I don't even like to think about it. Right. So let's start with a clip from Brian Higgins on the stand.
God damn.
All right, so that is Brian Higgins' voice right there. Now let's go to our guests, JFK and James Jackson, joining us in studio. Hi, fellas.
Hey, what's going on? Thanks for having us.
So I get all these messages. Brian Higgins called into this podcast. Give me, before I play the clip from your pod, just the setup of how you even got this call. What were you talking about? Why do you feel like, if this is Brian Higgins, he was so pissed that he thought, "I'm calling it"?
Well, anybody that's familiar with the JFK James Jackson podcast knows that we stay at the waterfall. We talk about the waterfall video clip. We stay on that because it all went down at the waterfall.
That's the bar in Canton that they were at before they went to 34 Fairfield.
11:58, hands went up. A pizza man by the name of Chris A. grabbed an ATF agent. Put that in that perspective. What's a pizza man grabbing an ATF agent for? Manhandling, right, James?
Manhandling
an ATF agent. So we stayed at the waterfall. So we said, "Hey, let's go to the waterfall and let's do a reenactment video." So we went and did a reenactment video, me and James.
And yeah, James, I wish I got invited.
Yeah, so you can check that out. It's on YouTube. And James played John O'Keefe. R.I.P. John O'Keefe, by the way. Rest in peace, John O'Keefe.
Yes.
Be clear. And after it was all said and done, we kind of knew this. We seen the spacing in there because when you see it on the lens of the bar footage, it's like a bug eye lens. You know,
so
it's
you
like,
think it's bigger.
Think it's bigger.
About the iPhone guy's .05.
Exactly. That's what my camera's on right now, filming this. Right. So point is, once we went in there, we said, "Hey, this is crazy." He was talking directly to him because I was whispering to James and he could hear me at the bar. So we did a reenactment. Right when we did the reenactment video, we ran into a cat named Seaside. We'll just leave it at that, from Cambridge. And he said he was one of Brian Higgins, a.k.a. Kevin from South Boston, best friends. So between that and that, in the reenactment video, we aired it I think it was December 8th or something like that. No, December 11th, to be clear. When we did the reenactment video, we put it up, and next thing you know, we get a phone call. And I kept seeing an unknown phone call come through my Google Voice. That's how I do the phone calls through my podcast. And I was like, man, should I even open this up? And I opened it, and who's this? And you're about to play the clip and about to see.
Okay, so here is the clip from the JFK Show Off podcast. Remember, I just played you Brian Higgins on the stand. Now this guy calls into your podcast called Kevin from South Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Called him.
Wait, let's go right to court. I'm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The audio on the second one is better because he's in court,
He's
but
in
you
court,
can
it's
tell
more
it's
crispy.
him. Yes.
Yeah.
But it's.
He did.
And he kept saying decorated dudes, like
Yeah.
decorated dudes.
Right.
So this happens, and you
Right.
guys are both live, and you're like, you're Brian Higgins.
Right. I caught that. I do my thing in the studio, right? So I got my headphones on like you guys every day. So I chop a lot. I'm a videographer too, so I do videos on this a lot, right? Chopping it up. So I heard his voice 1,000 times in my headphones, like we're listening right now. So I'm sitting there saying, wait a minute. I could tell he was kind of put a spin to his voice a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute. Is this Higgins?
And I feel like both of you had that same moment.
Yeah.
Well, wait a second.
Right. But I want to be clear. I don't, a lot of people, when they look at that video, right, James, they look at it, they just hear that you wrong, decorated dudes.
No context behind it.
The context is that we did a reenactment video, and that got him shook.
That's
because,
why I asked, because that makes sense.
and if they did a reenactment video in this case right now, it would make a lot of sense. But and we always go to me and James, like there was a little message in there, like I feel like a subliminal. He says when this comes out that she
Right.
actually did it. He didn't say when this comes out when she gets found guilty. He says when this comes out that she actually did it. So we always sit there and we say, well, what are we going to find out? What's the swerve, right? Is there a swerve? But there's not one. We all know that.
Well, we've been waiting for a bombshell moment in court. But I'll tell you, I mean, the reenactment videos, they're important, and I think for both sides. When the prosecution showed their expert and how somebody could get hit by a vehicle and have those type of wounds, it was impactful. When the defense showed, well, wait a second, no, here's our crash dummy, here's
Right.
Randy, this couldn't have happened, also impactful. We're not on the jury, but I think if you are somebody on the jury, visualizing does help. We actually have an insider who went to 34 Fairview, and Santi said the same thing. He said it's so small. Santi was a little taken aback at how small the yard was, and how he's like, wait a second, how does nobody see a siren?
Yes.
Changed the perspective on anything I thought before because the yard was super small, so I assumed that everybody heard the sirens, just decided not to come out. And then also too, if I could miss a body on the lawn if I wasn't looking for it too. So like it changes everything.
Yeah. Where do you guys fall on this? I don't listen to the podcast. I've listened to the clips since it was sent to us.
Well, you here
I'm
now.
Getting the vibe.
You're here now.
That you're
Yeah.
free Karen readers.
Yes.
Okay.
James actually been to the courtroom. I got invited to the courtroom, me and James, but I couldn't make it.
Yeah,
And
been
James been
twice.
holding it down, so he's been in the courtroom twice. So, he's right there with the family, right there with Karen. So Karen's a supporter. She jumps in chat once in a while.
James, when you got invited, because I know it's, you kind of have to know somebody, and who invited you into the courtroom?
I mean, it was like just through friends and family, I'll say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Friends and family.
Doesn't
Karen.
want to say.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
no, it was
Yeah.
friends and
Disclaimer.
family. Disclaimer.
You were
Disclaimer.
you were not sitting next to Peggy O'Keefe. You were sitting
No.
with Karen
Yeah.
Read's family
Yeah.
and friends. Man, I must have missed you because I watch
What-
every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he's a chameleon. When he takes off that hat, he mixes and blends.
Yeah,
real,
Did you,
real
did you
good.
go suit?
Yeah, suit.
Yeah.
Actually, I put the suit on, suit jacket, pig
The day
tie.
you were in court, who was on the stand?
Oh, Jen McCain.
Jen McCabe.
Oh, you got Jen
Yeah.
McCabe
I got
Day?
Jen
Yes.
McCabe Day.
Wow.
Yes.
So, well, listen, the two of you are in here. I ask everybody this question, that especially because the three of us, we go back and forth a lot. It honestly depends on the day where I stand on it. If somebody asked the two of you to give one thing each, give me one fact that you believe as to why it proves that Karenread is innocent, where would you go?
Well, I'll give
I know
you.
that's hard.
But I'll give you one right now that people don't talk about, right? You know, at the end of the day, that morning they showed up, right? Let's just say that night, right? If you're on the side where you don't really know what happened and you don't know where it's at right now in your mind, just look at it from this perspective. Let's just say they all missed the body, right? John O'Keefe. I don't like saying body. John O'Keefe. The next morning, they all showed up there and they were having a powwow. So you mean to tell me two decorated dudes was in the house, right? And they were all, and they're talking. And their comrade was on the front lawn the night before. They didn't go outside and check out the area like, man, he died right here. Then do their own investigation, yeah. And they would have found 42 pieces of taillight, a sneaker, and a hat. There's no way they wouldn't have went outside and checked that area. And that's something that we don't think of, right? There's no way, because if your friend would have died in front of your lawn and you were sitting in the house that morning and they cleared the scene, you would go out there and be like, wow, maybe do a shot.
They didn't.
Because they didn't, because they don't talk about it, because they would have found 42 pieces of taillight, a sneaker, and a hat.
Okay, so I'm playing devil's advocate because that's what I love to do. So let's picture Jen McCabe, Carrie Roberts, Karenread pull up. They see John's body.
Yeah.
They get out. Jen calls 911. We know that.
Okay, but here's I don't mean to cut you off,
No,
Ashley,
it's
on
fine.
this show, right? Keep in mind, Jen McCabe had 2 tries to say John O'Keefe. When she called 911,
So
she said on 911, she said there's a man in the snow,
Yeah.
and then they said let me put you through to Canton. And when Canton picked up, they said hello, right? What's going on?
Yeah.
And she said there's a guy in the snow.
I think
So
that's so
2
strange. I can't
times,
fight that. I cannot
right?
fight that.
2
That is-
times.
You would be like, my friend might
Twice.
know
Yeah.
anything.
Man
I
and
got
a
it.
guy.
I give you that.
Officer,
So-
officer down,
something.
something.
So Carrie says that she could barely. The weather's not great. Carrie says all of a sudden Karen knows exactly where John's body
Allegedly.
is, and she allegedly.
Mm-hmm.
There he is. They get out. Okay, fine. They call 911. Police show up. Who's to say that police presence or somebody from the police ever left? Maybe there was a police presence there.
Well, did you see
know,
that
I'm just-
morning? No,
I'm
they all left.
speculating.
Well, let me tell you why. Because listen, I'm about to break it down to you, sweetheart. Right? Listen, 11:45. 11. Why not?
I'm just kidding.
Right,
It's
11
listen,
it's a little
we're
early.
playing it back and forth here, so
11:45, right? To 11:45 at night till 7:45 a.m. is their shift. The
Okay.
police's shift. They want to get out of there, right? They're doing the midnight. They know a storm's coming in.
no OT?
And they wanted to get up out. Well, you got to understand, your boy Kevin from South Boston, he went back there to go check. They had a window of opportunity. Peep the wordplay here. They had a window of opportunity to do the framework. See what I'm saying? So that's what they did. And you got to understand something too. Jen McCabe initially, on the stand on direct when she first testified, said that Karen called her up and said, I left him at the waterfall. Jen McCabe said, well, let me hang up with you, Karen, and see if he walked home with Chris. Why would she think he walked home with Chris when she was on the phone with John for over a minute? She texted him a million times. She's seen him out in front of the house. She
had
said
eyes.
maybe he walked home with Chris. Then the very next day when she was on cross with Alan Jackson played the 911 call when she said the guy got out the car. And then he said, was that you? She said, yeah, that was me. She was like, but the only reason why I said it because Karen told me that. Well, what is it? She didn't remember. She did remember.
I've also never called 911, so I don't know what I would say in that space. But fine, James, your one thing.
My one thing is
I know that's again hard because you get to pick one, but
well, my one thing would be he's a first responder. Brian A. Don't you think Jen McCabe, she knew he's a first responder. It's her sister's.
Bingo.
You know, she should have went to the house, and that was it for me right there. When I found out that they never went in the house and knocked on the door, or Jen didn't do any of
that
that.
just in general that it's her sister.
Her
to
sister,
say,
not
hey,
to
like,
check
what's
on
going
her.
on?
Yeah.
That's okay.
Well,
I'm sorry.
when
But do you guys also honestly believe that many people can keep a secret? Just out of curiosity, I'm saying. just
yeah,
in
when they're
general.
police.
Okay.
Yeah.
When they're the
When
police.
you're facing life.
I'm in a group chat with 3 girls, and in that, with the 4 of us in there, no one can keep a secret. Somebody always finds out what hits the group chat. So I'm just saying, I think it's very.
When you got there's one thing about power. There's a saying, right, that it takes a certain person not to abuse power, and that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing abuse of power, and that's what it is. And just to let you know too, right, keep in mind that morning she was so against, Jen McCabe was so against Karen that morning, right? But she just met Carrie that night. So one of your friends, why would you be so against Karen? Karen was your friend. Carrie wasn't your friend. Why are you so mad? You didn't even know what happened yet.
Carrie and Jen, yeah, they had literally met in passing.
She's
but
telling
never
him
really-
everything.
yeah.
She's telling, why are you so against Karen for?
I'll say this. You know what I appreciate? That we can have a conversation. about it.
Absolutely.
'Cause there are free Karen readers who you
Oh,
can't. I mean,
no.
we got them in the office. Like, you can't
Wow.
even have a convo with them. And
They
I
get
think the
mad.
back and forth is the most important. By the way, we're in a mistrial for a reason. There's two
Right.
sides to this. People really believe in both things. If people listening want to hear your podcast, guys, where do they check it out?
At JFK Show Off, or you could go to at James Jackson, JAMESJKSN. James Jackson does the layover on his podcast at JFK Show Off on YouTube. Check me out.
All right, Brian Higgins, if you're listening.
Oh, he's listening.
Kevin.
Trust that.
Kevin.
Shout out to Kev from Southie.
Kevin, thank you. Thank you, guys.